the Madman! Welcome to the big card reveal day for Fractured and Alterac Valley. On this day, 60 plus cards dropped. This is going to be a very quick first look review where I just quickly glance at all the cards and give you my very brief thoughts on all of them. Since there's 60 cards, we're gonna get through them real quick and we'll rush right in with the Druid Legendary, Wing Commander Mulveric, 4 mana 2/5 Rush. Your minions have honorable kill, summon a 2/2 Wyvern with Rush. So Wing Commander Mulveric itself has that ability. This makes this a really good card at killing boards full of 2 health minions. In fact, it's Glowfly Swarm's worst nightmare. It is difficult to find that dream, but should you be able to find a 2 health minion, Wing Commander Mulveric's pretty good, and especially good if you manage to find 2 health minions on the board. Prideseeker! Battlecry, your next choose 1 card costs 2 less. This is actually surprisingly good, I think, for a very specific reason. It can ramp your Nourish to turn 4. This might cause the Anaconda Druid, the Alignment Druid, to be quite a bit better. Prideseeker also makes the previously revealed Pathmaker quite a bit better. Heart of the Wild, 3 mana, give a minion +2/+2, then give your beast +1/+1. Very synergetic with all those Frost Wolf cards because they have stealth and they death rattle into some more wolves. Perfect board buffing card for those. Now with all these cards seen, the main obstacle of this Beast Druid is going to be finding a place that's better than the current Token Druid and Aggro Druid. And not only that, but also the better Quest Warrior list. Maybe Quest Warrior is just a really hard benchmark to beat. Mage gets 2 really cool new cards. We got Shivering Sorcere. 1 mana 2/2 Battlecry, reduce the cost of the highest cost spell in your hand by 1. And note that this doesn't even have to just go into Big Spell Mage, because it just needs to go into a mage which runs spells. You'd be happy to have your 3 cost spell reduced to 2. You'd be happy to have your second flame reduced to 0 mana. It's a 0 mana 2/2. Now, because it's the highest cost spell, perhaps you actually don't want in your big spell mage because you get a higher percentage discount if you use it on your lower cost spells. But if you use it on your higher cost spells, you basically ramp a turn forward also. I think you're going to see this in a lot of mage decks that run spells, which is a pretty general statement, which means the card should be pretty good. Arcane Brilliance, 4 mana. Add a copy of a 7, 8, 9, and 10 cost spell in your deck to your hand. Notably, this is a copy, which is good, because when you do cast your Iceblood Tower off of your Arcane Brilliance, you want those cards to still be in there. Now, the main problem with this is, are you going to get to turn 7, 8, 9, and 10 to cast your big spells? I don't know about that one. Paladin's got a 5 mana Protect the Innocent. Summon a 5/5 Defender with Taunt. If your hero was healed this turn, summon another. Because you're going to need to spend some mana to also heal this turn, presumably, this card will probably not be played on 5, in which case it's 5 mana 5/5 Taunt, but more like played on turn 7 or 8 when you combo it with some sort of heal. So what can heal? Well, we got some new cards. We got Vitality Surge. Draw a minion, restore health to your hero equal to its cost. You're going to want to play this in a deck of big minions, such as the previously revealed Brasswing, perhaps. This does also work, Protect the Innocent with True Silver. Maybe True Silver comes back. Hold the Bridge also works. 3 mana, give a minion +2/+1 and Divine Shield. It gains lifesteal until end of turn. Love playing it on rush minions. Love playing it on minions that are already on the board and ready to attack, because that's how you get lifesteal, obviously. Notably not a great result on cards that don't have rush or aren't already on the board. Stonehearth Indicator, 3 mana 3/1. Battlecry, draw a spell that costs 3 or less. It costs 0 this turn. This is a tricky card because a lot of Paladin spells are reactive. So it's hard to find a spell that you want to play for 3 mana or even 2 mana. For that reason, even though this is a good deal, where you're getting potentially up to 3 more mana for free on top of a 3/1, the correct spell to draw with this might not be out there. And on the entire big Paladin idea, Cavalry Horn, 5 mana 3/2 weapon, death rattle, summon the lowest cost minion in your hand. The way to abuse this is you don't have low cost minions in your hand, and then you only summon the big cost minions, So as early on turn 6, you could be breaking the Cavalry Horn and then summoning your big Brass Wing or your big Templar Captain. These are all cool ideas, but I don't actually think that big Paladin will be making a comeback just because of the Cavalry Horn. For Priest, you got a bunch of life adjusting minions and some healing stuff. We'll start with the objective. It's the Stormpike Aid Station. 3 mana at the end of your turn, give your minions +2 health last 3 turns. So this is for the Priest deck that has a bunch of minions. I haven't seen that around, nor do I think this card is going to make that happen. Here's a card that could fit into that type of deck. Luminous Geode, 2 mana 1/4. After a friendly minion is healed, give it +2 attack. 2 mana 1/4. That's not really a stat line that I want to put in a zoo deck. Now if I could heal things, perhaps. Well, here's a thing that heals things. Give to the Naru, 1 mana, restore 3 health to all characters. If any are still damaged, draw a card. That's kind of like Renew, but it does require that you're actually damaged. And while you may think, of course I'm going to be damaged, there's actually a number of decks out there that don't damage you until later. It does also affect the enemies, which is cool. So if your opponent's under a 27, you can also draw a card. But Priest decks are generally not that aggressive. You got Bless. Give a minion +2 health and set its attack to be equal to its health, leading to the dream idea that you start with the Frazzled Freshman and then bless it to have a 6/6 attacker on turn 2. That's a really specific draw that you're hoping for. I'm not entirely certain there are that many minions in the Zoo Priest deck that have high health and low attack. Rogue's last 3 cards are actually pretty exciting. You got Wildpaw Null, 5 mana rush, costs 1 less for each card you've added to your hand from another class, 4/5. That could be a 0 mana 4/5 with rush as long as you've played, or not even played, as long as you've added 5 more cards from other classes. Double Agent, 3 mana 3/3 Battlecry. If you're holding a card from another class, summon a copy of this. So yeah, lots of Burgle support. And finally, Contraband Stash, 5 mana, replay 5 cards from other classes you've played this game. Those are 3 cards that all support a Burgle idea for Rogue. There have been rumblings around Maestra of the Masquerade. Since you're another class, when you draw your Rogue cards, you could actually, just draw your normal deck, and then Wildpaw Null will be discounted quite a bit. Worth noting that this does not count cards that start in your opening hand. But yes, there's a decent chance that you could play Double Agent on turn 2 with the coin, or turn 3, and then get 2 3/3s on the board. My quick look on these Burgle type cards is that they're cool, but I don't really see enough support, and Burgle Rogue tends to be like a value rogue, and I've made it clear that I don't think value decks are going to be very good in what I expect the meta to be is going to be super aggro and some combo. Similar to what the meta is right now. We see all of the Frost Shaman cards at last. There's 6 of them, and all of them have a little bit of a Frost theme. Is this the dream? Let me start off with Snowfall Guardian, because this has one of the best flavor texts of all time. 5 mana 3/3 Elemental, Battlecry, freeze all other minions, gain +1/+1 for each frozen minion. It's like a worldwide Frost Nova. It's nice, but again, because there's some combo decks out there, the freeze all of their minions might not actually be that relevant. But here's the flavor text. You're finally awake! That fall looked really bad. Demon Hunters? Mercenaries? What are you talking about? Come on, I just unpacked a Golden Morabi. Let's go build a Freeze Shaman deck. So good. We got the objective, Wellpaw Cavern. 4 mana. At the end of your turn, summon a 3/4 elemental that freezes. Lasts 3 turns. 4 mana to get 2 3/4s over this turn and next turn. That's pretty good. It does last 3 turns, so third one's a bonus. This is a value over time slow card. Potentially too slow. You got your Sleepbreaker, a 2 mana 3/2. Battlecry, add a Wind Chill to your hand. And this is an elemental. Great card for the elemental decks. The Wind Chill is quite a good card. By the way, the Wind Chill is an actual card in this set. So you could run up to 4 copies of Wind Chill in your deck. 1 mana, freeze a minion, draw a card. That's actually a really good spell. I would love this card in a number of my control decks. You got your Frostbite, 2 mana, deal 3 damage. So that by itself isn't bad. It's a frost spell already too. But the bonus is Honorable Kill. Your opponent's next spell costs 2 more. And generally, decks have spells in them, which means at one point or another, your opponent's going to have to burn 2 mana if you manage to get an Honorable Kill with it. Nice card. And to wrap it all up, we got Glaciate, 6 mana, discover an 8 cost minion, summon and freeze it. Now there is precedent for this type of card not necessarily being that good, being too slow. Frozen Crusher. Some of the 8 cost minions though, especially since you discover, have some really cool abilities that are fast. So when you look at all these together, the big payoff for running all these freeze cards is, again, it's your Baron Glaciate. Since you've got a 2 mana 3/2 that gets Wind Chills, and you've got Wind Chill itself, you know, maybe it's worth putting that Baron Glaciate in there. Maybe you slide it into an elemental deck. Well, yeah, you could just run Wind Chill and Sleepbreaker. Those are just good cards. Over in Warlock, we see that they have quite the Fel package. We'll start with Felwalker, 6 mana 3/7, Demon Taunt. Battlecry, cast the highest cost Fel spell from your hand. Felfire in the hole, draws a spell, and it's 5 mana, and deals 2 damage to all enemies. If it's a Fel spell, deal 1 more. So what else are we getting from Fel? You got the Seeds of Destruction, 2 mana, shuffle 4 Rifts into your deck. They summon a 3/3 Dread Imp when drawn. As a reminder, the Fel Rifts are also Fel spells, and you generate Fel Rifts with Dreadlich Tamsin as well. Is that too slow? Possibly. Got another Fel spell, Full Blown Evil, 3 mana, deal 5 damage, randomly split among all enemy minions, repeatable this turn. Very flexible card, you could deal 5, 10, or 15 damage, 3, 6, or 9 mana. That's pretty good. And then you got Grave Defiler, 1 mana 2/1 Battlecry, copy a Fel spell in your hand. That's a pretty good payoff for running Fel spells. A 1 mana 2/1 that gets you another Fel spell that you probably want in your deck. But there might not be enough Fel spells that are good. I'm not entirely sold on this Grave Defiler having enough good targets yet. We also got a Desecrated Graveyard, 3 mana, objective. At the end of your turn, destroy your lowest attack minion to summon a 4/4 Shade, last 3 turns. So this is really good for any kind of Death Rattle Zoo or a very small deck. However, I think that there doesn't currently exist a deck that has that many Death Rattles in it, or that many things you want to trade into 4/4 Shades. You should just break your eggs with Sacrificial Summoner, which is also in this set. I think what's missing is better low-cost minions, you know, that you would actually want a Sacrificial Summoner or Desecrated Graveyard. Warrior has To the Front, 2 mana. Your minions cost 2 less this turn, but not less than 1. So that's a combo enabler card for you to put out a bunch of minions. Now, while I think this is exceedingly unlikely, I will mention a combo that is created from this. Step 1, you cast 2 To the Fronts. Step 2, you cast Captain Galvanger. Step 3, you copy Captain Galvanger with a Faceless Manipulator. And step 4, you put one of those Battle Masters in the middle. Now, assuming you've just gained 15 armor throughout the game, which is the easy part compared to getting these 5 cards into your hand at the same time, Exodia, you will use your Captain Galvangers with the 9 charging attack to attack twice each for 36 damage. And that's a potential new OTK. I think it's quite bad compared to the current OTKs, but there's another one. How about for Glory Chaser, which is the ode to the player glory for winning championships. A 3 mana 4/3, after you play a taunt minion, draw a card. Is this the warrior equivalent of Field Contact? Seems unlikely. But hey, 3 mana 4/3, enabler card for an archetype. That's pretty sweet. Axe Berserker, 4 mana 3/5, rush, honorable kill, draw a weapon. Main problem with this kind of general card is the generalist deck needs to compete with the Pirate Warrior deck, the Quest Warrior, which also draws a weapon. I mean, this doesn't have the Pirate tag. And do you want to replace that particular deck with this, which looks like it'll be a tempo-based deck? Seems unlikely. This does have the chance of drawing multiple weapons and get multiple honorary kills, but seems hard. Iceblood Garrison is Warrior's objective. At the end of your turn, deal 1 damage to all minions, last 3 turns. This is certainly very good against small minions. This warpaths 3 times, but the downside is obviously that 1 damage for 3 turns is pretty slow. It does combine with your Snowed In card, but hard to see that much incentive to run your Control Warrior list. You got your Shield Shatter, which is definitely a Control Warrior card. 10 mana, deal 5 damage to all minions, costs 1 less for each armor you have. Because this is to all minions, you probably don't want to have minions on the board, so it's meant for Control Warrior. If you have 10 armor, it costs 0, which does combine with the Frozen Buckler from this set. 2-card combo to deal 5 damage to all and gain 5 armor. Cool combo, can really clear off some very problematic boards early, but that's a very specific combo and requires running 2 cards that by themselves aren't very good by themselves. The times where you build up a lot of armor, you're probably up against the control or combo deck where it doesn't matter this dealing damage to all minions. And let's take a look at the neutrals. We got Troll Centurion. 8 mana, 8/8, rush, honorable kill, deal 8 damage to the enemy hero. Seems really, really difficult to get an honorable kill. So it's like an 8 mana, 8/8 with rush, with just, you know, every once in a while you deal 8 damage. 8/8 rush, not good enough. Tower Sergeant, 4 mana, 4/4 Battlecry. If you control at least 2 other minions, gain +2/+2. Meant for a zoo type deck, lots of minions. Your payoff is you get 6/6 for 4 mana. This isn't that good, especially when you compare it with some of the cards that just buff other cards instead, like adjacent minions. Stormpike Quartermaster, 2 mana, 2/2. After you cast a spell, give a random minion in your hand +1/+1. There's a lot of decks out there which cast a bunch of spells on the same turn, but the point of those decks is not really to buff a minion. Doubt they would find the room to run this side idea of Stormpike Quartermaster. Stormpike Marshal, 4 mana, 2/6. Taunt, if you took 5 or more damage on your opponent's turn, this costs 1. This is a card that I could actually see getting play. It's a 1 mana 2/6 taunt. Aggro decks will be dealing 5 or more damage, and as a control player, I love seeing this counter to those fiendish aggro players. You can have quite the turn where you kill their board and then you drop a 1 mana 2/6 taunt. And a 4 mana 2/6 taunt isn't that terrible by itself either. But if you're up against an aggro deck, you certainly will be able to get this off for 1 mana. Or you'll be given so much time by the opponent if they like try to play around it that Stormpike Marshal will have saved you a bunch of health. Snowblind Harpy, 3 mana 3/4 Battlecry. If you're holding a frost spell, gain 5 armor. Haven't really worked out the math on how many frost spells everyone's running yet, but in a aggro heavy environment, which we're in, it's got good stats and it's got a good effect. It just matters on whether or not you have enough frost spells. You got Ram Commander, 2 mana 2/2 Battlecry. Add 2 1/1 rams with rush to your hand, but importantly they're beasts. Of course, the tokens are useful for a token Demon Hunter, but also useful for token Druid because of the beast tag. That's going to cause the beast requirement to go down by 1. So you're paying 1 mana for the battle rounds, but you're saving 1 mana for your new card. If you think of the 1/1s with rush as kind of like Spring Paw, and it basically is, it's a 2 mana 2/2, which like adds a Spring Paw to your hand, and that's pretty good. Reflecto Engineer, 3 mana 2/4 Battlecry. Swap the attack and health of all minions in both players' hands. Very silly, very irrelevant as far as I can tell. Piggyback Imp, 3 mana 4/1 Death Rattle. Summon a 4/1 Imp. Stat line's pretty bad. Shouldn't see any serious play. Legionnaire, 6 mana 9/3 Death Rattle. Give all minions in your hand +2/+2. Really bad stats for the cost and really slow. Kobold Taskmaster, 3 mana 2/4 Battlecry. Add 2 armor scraps to your hand that give +2 health to a minion. Kind of value, but boy is that slow value, and slow value is not going to cut it these days. Iron Deep Trog, 1 mana 1/2. After your opponent casts a spell, summon a copy of this. Since this says after, your opponent can just use a spell and remove the Trog. I have no idea why this card exists. It doesn't even really counter spells. Just it's sure if you buff it, then your opponents could find it very difficult to deal with. But nah, too cute. Bad idea. Ice of Protector, 6 mana 2/10 taunt. Freeze any character damaged by this minion. This actually is a very good defensive card against aggro. It comes out pretty late at 6, but that's a lot of health. Main problem is if you're not against aggro, this card's pretty bad. So, metagame dependent. Not entirely sure anyone's going to be able to slot in a card though that's meta dependent based on if there's aggro. And the cost is if you aren't playing against aggro, the card is pretty bad. Ice Revenant, 4 mana 4/5. Whenever you cast a frost spell, gain +2/+2. This is an elemental also. That is not going to work. Humongous Owl, 7 mana 8/4 beast. Death Rattle, deal 8 damage to a random enemy. That is a very big Death Rattle. It reminds me of Tank. Pretty bad news if your opponent actually plays a small minion and then kills the Humongous Owl and then 50/50s it and then your owl kills the small minion. Cute idea was posited where you have this owl die and then you spray your Tamsin's Phylactery, your perfume bottle, you put it over all your imp tokens, and then deal 8 damage on death. That could be an OTK. I think that's dumb. Herald of Lockholar, 4 mana 3/5 Battlecry, draw a frost spell. Having seen all the frost spells in the set, I don't see any particular frost spell that you'd really want to tutor. And would you want a 4 mana 3/5 that drew you a card? Meh. Gangster, 2 mana 4/2 stealth. After your opponent plays a minion, attack it. It's got good stats for the cost. The main drawback is your opponent could just play a 1 mana card, which is like a 2/1, and then Gangster will attack it and trade poorly. It is like a face-up snipe. It could also just get AoE'd down. So, you know, it's similar to a face-up snipe neutral. And if the opponent doesn't have a minion, then, you know, you got a 2 mana 4/2 stealth, aggressively stabbed. I don't really see this getting played, though, because the bottom line is probably a disadvantage. Frostwolf Warmaster, 4 mana 3/3, costs 1 less for each card you've played this turn. There are some decks out there that currently play a lot of cards in a turn. Most notably, it's the Rogue with the Field Contact and the Edwin. You could just get the occasional 0 mana 3/3 tempo on top. I think this card will definitely be tried in that deck. 0 mana 3/3, good value. Frantic Hippogriff, 5 mana 3/7 rush, honorable kill, gain Wind Fury. That is definitely just a filler card. Darwolf Commander, 3 mana 2/5, honorable kill, summon a 2/2 Wolf with stealth. That's definitely a filler card. Both of those are filler cards just because the stats baseline on them, 5 mana 3/7, 3 mana 2/5, they're just too weak. You can't count on those working. Bunker Sergeant, 3 mana 2/4, Battlecry. If your opponent has 2 or more minions, deal 1 damage to all enemy minions. I'm actually not entirely sure that a 3 mana 2/4 Battlecry deal 1 damage to all enemy minions is that good. Like, even if it weren't conditional. And then Bloodguard, 5 mana 4/7. Whenever this minion takes damage, give your minions +1 attack. Similar to the previous cards, this one looks like filler to me, just because 5 mana 4/7 with an ability that doesn't go off that quickly. But hey, we're gonna end on a very exciting card. Korak the Blood Rager, 4 mana 3/5, legendary. It's a death rattle. If this wasn't honorably killed, resummon Korak. And important clarification, hard removal spells such as Shadowward Pain does not kill with honor. You have to deal exactly 5 health with it. Now, perhaps one of the reasons why I think this card's actually good is that there is a spell from a previous set that you may have forgotten about from Rogue. Sketchy Information. 3 mana, draw a Death Rattle card that costs 4 or less, Korak is 4, trigger its Death Rattle. So with Sketchy Information, you could draw your Korak, and then you could summon a 3/5 Korak. Note, I'm not 100% sure that actually works yet. Clarification has not been posted on that, but would make sense for that to work. Now, it is pretty hard to figure out a Rogue deck that will run exactly Korak as your only Death Rattle and run 2 of the spells that summon Death Rattles, but yeah, maybe a Death Rattle Rogue deck, and then sometimes you high roll with Korak. So that's your quick look through all of the revealed cards. Looking forward to, 1, playing all of these in the pre-event for streamers. Have some spicy ideas. Also have an idea for a deck that would probably demolish all the other event decks. The event decks generally being that you have to put in 10 cards from the new set in here. And looking forward to reviewing all the cards with star ratings. Or maybe I'm not looking forward to doing that because I have a confession and prediction to make. Across all of these card reveals, I've been saying, if we're in a slow value / control meta, you know, these could be working. When I do the star ratings, I make the hard judgments on how I think these cards would do fit into a specific meta. And there's a lot of slow value cards in here. Slow value cards are not going to cut it in the Pirate Warrior OTK combo deck meta. So many of these cards, you know, the honorable kill mechanic deals with minion versus minion combat, but what if there's not that much minion v minion combat? The entire concept of objectives is that they're slow value over time cards, but what if there's not enough time to gain the value over time? Get ready, buckle your seatbelts for a lot of 1 stars. But hey, Arena's gonna be great.